it's important to set boundaries. It's important to put your foot down and say enough is enough. And in today's video, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about just that. Recently, I've talked to a friend of mine, and he told me about a scenario that happened at his job. And he told me how it's been going on since January of this year. And the situation got worse in April. And it wasn't until the first week of May, he went to a supervisor and he reported it. But by then, when he told the supervisor about the altercation, the supervisor wrote both of them up and sent them home. By the time he handled it with his supervisor, both employees got written up and sent home. But I said to him, why didn't you set your boundaries with this employee, this coworker, from the beginning? And he said, oh man, I would have felt bad if I said something. No. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Don't make excuses. Don't make excuses for a situation that can snowball later down the road and get worse for you. Set those boundaries. Say, hey, we are co-workers. We have to work together professionally, where I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to joke around. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if I make friends outside of work, hey, that's cool. That's fine. That's fantastic. But while we're here in the workplace, in this workspace, we are to respect each other. We are to honor each other as employees, and we are to get this work done. We get paid by the hour or by the salary to get this work done. So stick to just that. You got to put your foot down. You know, you have to say, hey, I don't have time for the shenanigans. I don't have time for the nonsense. I don't have time for, okay, let's joke around on the forklifts all day and try to play Lance on a forklift. Because what's going to happen is 2 fatalities. If you rush at each other with the forks up at full speed, you're going to kill each other. You're going to destroy 2 professional forklifts that you didn't pay for, but the company paid for. But also, you're going to pay with your life, which is the ultimate price for being foolish. Therefore, you have to set those boundaries and be like, if your coworker wants to joke around about something like that, you report them immediately. You report them immediately and continue on about your way. You know, don't feel no type of way about it. Don't say, oh, man, he was my homeboy. Nah. Because that's how altercations in the workplace start. That's how the beef starts. This was my homegirl. This was my homeboy. This was my ace. This was my day one. And like, no. When you get hired, right, you do your onboarding paperwork. It mentions nothing of friends in the paperwork. So therefore, you have to put your foot down and say, I'm setting these boundaries, and I ask that you respect them. And make sure, go to the supervisor if they don't respect those boundaries. You're dealing with a scenario with your significant other. You got to let them know, hey, babe, I love you. You're my other half, and I always love you and appreciate you. But I don't have time for the disrespect. I'm not the one you play with, okay? Don't get disrespectful. Don't put your hands on them. Don't get brutal with them. No. Let him or her know, I love you, but I'm setting these boundaries. And what are the main boundaries of a relationship? Be honest, be faithful, integrity, appreciative, respectful, compassionate, loving. Keyword, faithful. If one of you steps outside the relationship or marriage, you've crossed the boundary line. So it's up to you to establish that boundary with your significant other. And it's up for your significant other to establish some boundary lines as well. And it's up to the both of you to not cross those boundary lines. Say, for example, right, you catch your significant other talking to someone else via text message. And there's a difference. You know, talking doesn't always mean flirting. They can just be saying, hey, how's life? How's your significant other? You know, how's family life or whatever? How's married life or whatever? That's a conversation. But if they're flirting with this person from work, from the neighborhood, or through who they met through a mutual friend, then you have to address your significant other and say, hey, we're done. You know, caught you red-handed. I love you. I'ma always love you and I'ma always care about you. But we're done. Like, I put my foot down. This is where I draw the line. Because if you catch them cheating, they're always going to cheat. I'm not saying don't forgive them. Forgive them as you're going out the door or as they're leaving. You know, forgive them. But don't be a fool and take them back, because they're going to continue doing what they do. My mother always used to say, once a cheater, always a cheater. So it's important for you to set boundary lines in your relationship. It's important for you to set boundary lines in your marriage. To say, hey, you know, I don't mind you having friends, because having a social circle is important for a marriage to thrive. But you guys have to actually be friends with people who are married. And I learned this from my pastor. I didn't know nothing about it. There was a terminology my grandmother and my uncle and even my adoptive mother taught me growing up. And that's single friends keep friends single. And I didn't understand what it meant. My grandmother and my mother had a saying also, birds of a feather flock together. It's the same meaning, but two different sayings. So be mindful. If you're in a relationship or marriage, who you're friends with. You want to be friends with people who have a better marriage or relationship than you, so you guys can seek advice from couples who can give you a better insight or can give you better advice on how to deal with your significant other on a day-to-day basis. If you are friends with individuals who are always breaking up and getting back together, then 9 times out of 10, if you take their advice, you're going to end up just like them. So you got to set those boundaries. You got to set those boundaries. Perfect example, a cousin. We all have this cousin. Cousin tell you, hey, let me borrow some money. I need to go here and I need to go there. Da, da, da. But when you lend them the money, pay me back that $200, that $100, or that $20. They have every rhyme and reason in the book why they can't pay you back. Oh, something happened with my check, or I had to pay my rent, or I had to pay my bills, and no. So you have to set some boundaries and learn how to say no. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I had to switch scenery because I let my wife use the car to go to work. But yeah, so you could be in a situation with a cousin that owes you money. And because you didn't establish those boundaries, and because you didn't put your foot down and say enough is enough, that cousin now owes you probably a little over $500, if I'm not mistaken. So therefore, you have to say enough is enough. You have to put your foot down and tell them this isn't acceptable. Therefore, establish those boundaries. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, protect your peace. Put your foot down and say enough is enough. Protect your peace and set boundaries, because boundaries are healthy. Healthy for your mindset, healthy for your state of peace, and healthy for your well-being. Don't always say yes to everything. Don't always go along with everything. Put your foot down, set boundaries. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I love you guys. I thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all have a beautiful and blessed day. Thank you for all the continued support of the channel. God bless you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.